Where's my purse? Welcome to the Chaos, lovelies. I'm Em, a 42-year-old who just found out that I have ADHD, and now I'm just trying to make sense of it all. This is all for fun, so please don't take anything I say as advice. I only know what has worked for me personally, and every neurodivergent brain is different and has unique needs. A quick trigger warning for this episode. There's going to be some discussion of eating disorders and self-harm. So if you don't want to hear about that today, I totally get it. Skip this one, find another episode, or come back next week. Some of the episodes are just purely fun. Anyway, the chaos continues. So this episode is a little late because life has been an absolute roller coaster lately. I got a job. I may have mentioned that before, I can't remember. But everything has changed a lot since I first got it. I started the notes for this episode a while ago, and my initial notes were so hopeful and excited because I tried believing in people and thinking the best again. And it just never works out, you know? I don't think that knowing that will ever change my approach because I'm just kind of an eternal optimist. But I do sometimes wish that I could just learn my lesson, you know? Maybe someday. So, anyway, I started out really excited and hopeful for this job, but things have been rapidly devolving into absolute madness. There's been lots of yelling, personal conversations, politics, and not to mention, like, annoying old man comments about my looks, and not to mention his hate for trans people, which, let me just say right now that if you agree with him on that one, you can leave right now. I don't accept hate of entire groups of people, especially when there's absolutely nothing that they can do about it. They were just born that way, you know? And I especially can't accept hate when it is paired with just an absolute unwillingness to learn anything new or entertain any rational scientific information. I really thought I could handle it. I honestly love the actual job, but then he put the hammer down on the most exciting part of the job, and that was that. I was supposed to do social media for his company, which is in the cannabis industry. Advertising is super restricted, but I was kind of looking forward to it as like an exciting challenge. And honestly, I was making a pretty good start. But then he got mad at me because I didn't run every single Instagram post by him before posting them. And then he told me that he was going to be micromanaging the online stuff because that's his domain. And then all of a sudden he had built apps and worked for Apple and done like an email campaign and blah, 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 blah. Basically that, you know, he knew so much more than me. But I'm sorry, he hasn't been on any social media except Facebook. And he got banned after supporting the January 6th idiocy. So, yeah, he's also a Trump supporter. I don't even know how you can be at this point. If you're one of those, also go away because you're not welcome here. So anyway, he supposedly knows a lot more about all this online stuff, right? And so I sat there and listened to him go on and on for a half an hour. And honestly, like, it's kind of fun to watch people lie. He has got just some crazy fucking stories. And he is so in his head, and his experience is the only experience. It is really wild to watch. And it's wild to watch him not be able to keep track of all of his stories. Like, things are just vastly different from day to day, sometimes hour to hour. It's too much. I can't take this, like, mercurial sort of, like, he could explode about anything at any second. Like, you just never know. No, thank you. I lived in a household that was like that. I'm not walking on eggshells for anybody. Fuck that shit. He also seems to think that me working 20 hours a week for him means that I have to be available 24/7 for any random phone call. And they're not like important phone calls. First of all, what is pressing about a cannabis establishment, honestly? And it's all just like he had a random thought. And he doesn't leave messages, and I'm just supposed to be fine with that. Like, he just expects me to interrupt my life anytime he feels like calling me. And that's just not going to happen. This is a part-time job, and no. You'd have to pay me way more than that, and even then, that's not how I work. I don't even like phone calls. Like, just text me, you know? Anyway. So, yeah, I had to take down the Instagram that I had started, and that was a real bummer. I had started chatting with some local companies in the industry, and, not about business, but just kind of like establishing a connection. And I don't know, I was starting to build like a cute little Instagram page, and then that was that. No more. All gone. He also told me when he hired me that he liked that I seemed to do things my own way, and he told me that he wasn't a micromanager. And I told him that was good because I was never going to work for a micromanager again. I don't work well under that situation. I thought everything was going to be chill. I was so excited. I was so excited for this job. But yeah, so I guess he didn't believe me that I would never work for a micromanager again. Because then the other day, he told me he'd be micromanaging all of the social media stuff. So that's half my job. The other half is the store, which is so fun. And like, there's something about getting to call myself a bud tender that just makes me like giddy. It's so stupid, but I love it. It's a really fun job. My coworkers are so nice. And that makes it like that much harder to know that I cannot stay at that place. They deserve better. They're fantastic people, but he's lucky he has them. But he doesn't have me, and he doesn't own me. And I don't owe him a goddamn thing. But he claims that he doesn't micromanage the store, although he will, like, check the cameras when he's not there, from his house, and call them if they've stepped outside to take a break. He also yells a lot, like I said, just randomly, and, like, it's just wild. It's just so wild. And I thought I could handle it, but the more that comes out and the more he just keeps like, I know he's testing me. He calls me dear all the time, which like makes me just cringe. Like I just want to rip my skin off when he does that. And it is constant. He comments on my looks, the way I'm dressed. So I have gone out of my way to wear big t-shirts and like, I have big stupid like cat t-shirts, And so I've just been wearing those and trying to be just trying to make myself unattractive again because I'm super uncomfortable. And it just makes me so angry that I am once again in this fucking situation. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's just been nagging at me for a little while. Honestly, since I interviewed, because he just went like straight into it with the crazy. I just thought like it was a test and that it was going to like maybe chill out a little bit, but it just keeps getting worse. And I guess I really can't take it. I wish I could. I wish that I could just be like totally healed, and just able to do things that like, neurotypical people can do. But I can't. I still have CPTSD. I still have trauma. I definitely still have ADHD. I can't do anything about that. But you know what else I have now? I have a backbone. I have confidence. And I have a voice that I'm not afraid to use anymore. I have self-respect. And I have a love for all kinds of people. I will not tolerate hate. I can't do it. So it all kind of caught up with me today, actually, last night too. And I had a very frank conversation with my husband. something that I've kind of had to learn to do. You know, growing up, everything in my childhood was like whispered secrets and pointed silences and just like this constant tension because every once in a while there would just be an explosion, you know, and you never knew when it was coming and you never knew what was going to set it off. And, you know, I still run away and hide when I'm upset and when I probably should be looking for support from other people. I tend to hide and process things on my own because I've always had to. And I have a hard time leaning on other people. I'm trying to learn how to do it, but it's still really hard. So today it was just different. It was a success because I just had a very open and honest conversation with him. I didn't let myself get into the mindset of, oh my God, I'm trapped and I have to stay here and blah, 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 because I'm not trapped. I have lots of really valuable skills. That's the thing that I've learned from this experience is like, I have really always like completely undervalued myself and my abilities. And I still do to some extent, but I'm really trying to get better at it because I do have valuable qualities. And I know that probably sounds crazy, but I just was raised to believe that everything about me was bad, you know? And I'm still working, you know, I'm still working through it. Anyway, I've gotten off track and I've gotten very emotional, which is not what I expected. I had a really rough day today. I did for a while kind of go off on my own. And another thing that I have to accept that still happens is that sometimes when I feel so out of control with my life, I go off into like some of my more self-destructive habits. And luckily mine are not terrible. I've gotten rid of the worst ones for the most part. But the thing that I have to accept about myself is that my go-to is still rooted in my eating disorders. And today I had another breakthrough because when I had this frank conversation with my husband, I told him straight out, like, yeah, and so I didn't go in. I drove around crying, binge eating, and throwing up, you know, which is embarrassing. It's horrible. It's honestly the first time that I've done, especially the puking part, in just years. And that tells me something. My body is like physically rejecting the situation that I'm in right now. And I'm going to listen because last time I didn't listen, I got even more sick. I got really, really sick. I got dangerously sick. I'm not doing that anymore, especially not for this guy. No way. I don't know. I think it's really kind of fucked that my eating disorders are still so prominent. Like, I've really done a lot of hard work and a lot of healing, and most of the time it is not an issue. But when I feel like things are out of my control, they just are right there again. Because that was what I went to. You know, I was never like a cutter or anything like that. It was always whatever eating disorder I was enmeshed with at the time, but it's always been something. This is honestly the first time I haven't had consistent eating disordered behavior in like my whole life. Like since I was 8 at least. I can't really remember before then. Except I know there were comments about my body and stuff, so I don't know. Anyway, wow, it's been a day. You can tell I'm all over the place. I kind of lost hope today. I let myself kind of go dark. And I say that, but like, I only sort of mean that I let myself go dark because honestly, like in that moment, it just doesn't feel like something I can control. Like I knew what was happening. I knew I shouldn't be making those choices and I did it anyway, you know, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry for this rant. I will say that I am proud of myself for not assuming that I was stuck and for just taking steps to move on. It's just not for me. You know, I think my husband put it best when we were talking about it. It was a mistake. It didn't work out. Oh, well, move on. Right? I love that man of mine. Let me tell you. He is my voice of reason for sure. And my ADHD brain needs that so badly. And speaking of ADHD, let's lighten things up a little bit here if you've made it this far. Woo! In ADHD land this week, it has also been a tough one. Our dishwasher broke, and I absolutely loathe washing dishes. It is my least favorite thing. And now with everybody back in school, it's kind of on me to do the dishes most of the time. And, it can be okay. I can sometimes zone out, listen to a podcast, and wash a ton of dishes. Sometimes disassociation is helpful. And I've also been having a bad bout of one of the more annoying ADHD traits that I have, which is skin picking. I hate it. This is something that resurfaces whenever I am nervous or stressed out, whenever my life feels out of control. It's another one of those things that comes back with a vengeance. When I found out that this was a habit that was ADHD related, I was so annoyed because I have it and it's annoying. But also, I was kind of relieved because now at least I know why I do it and why I can't seem to stop. Because I used to be mocked when I was younger, and I tried so hard to not do it, but I just couldn't. And I don't know. I know it's weird. I usually pick at my scalp, and when I was younger, my family would tell me that I had bugs, and like I said, yell at me for it. I tried really hard to stop. When I was in high school, the school nurse was doing a school-wide lice check, and I was lice-free, but she did make sure to comment on the massive flakes of skin that were on my scalp. Massive flakes of dandruff, as she called it, which as a teenager is just mortifying, And I was so insecure and I hated everything about myself. And it was just another thing where I was like, oh my God, I am garbage, I will say that I have learned to accept this now. It's a weird stim, and that's not a big deal. Stims are good. They help you calm down. And it could be a lot worse, right? But here's the issue. I have had very short hair for a while now. And I like to bleach it, and then I do another round of dye that's kind of this light pink, kind of strawberry blondish color. I like it a lot. I never thought that I would do a color like that. I've always had dark hair, and I like it. It looks good on me. It makes me feel warm and happy. And it also helps me face myself in the mirror on my really bad days because I look less like my bullies. But you know what you should not do on the same day that you plan to bleach your hair? Skin picking on your scalp. I knew that I was going to be in for it before I even did it. And I kind of questioned my choice of doing it. But the way things were going to time out, I wanted my hair done by a certain point, so it had to be done. And my head felt like it was on fire for a little while. I've felt it burn before, but never really as intensely as it did that time. I'm sure it's terrible for me. There's nothing good about that. But I've just never liked my hair, and this is the first time that when I look in the mirror, I feel like the real me. I feel like I'm seeing myself, who I should be. And it makes me really happy. But damn, fire scalp. It was hot. So I like to leave these episodes on kind of an uplifting note. And this week, I just want to say that if things are dark and you're not sure where you want to go, or you just don't see any options, just keep believing that it's still possible, because it is. I have come out of the absolute rock bottom, darkest part of my life. And even after getting out of that, I was still struggling to see a future or any possibilities. And then life can change in a blink of an eye. For the good, for the bad, sometimes one right after the other. You never know what's going to happen. I never in a million years would have predicted where I am now, and it's still not stable, but I have a more definite idea of where I want to go. And it's exciting. I'm excited for the future. To quote Ferris Bueller, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. I hope you have found your path, lovelies. And if you haven't yet, I hope you will soon. I hope you always do things your own way. Except maybe when bleaching your hair. And of course, I hope you find your purse.
a Frap Media production.